Department of Education. We know that yesterday Trump signed an executive order to focus on making sure that he abolished and gotten rid of the Department of Education as we know it. As we know it. Meaning that we have to make sure that we're allocating all of our resources to the right things, and we cannot be spending money on this trash ass education that we've been dealing with. Pardon my language, but I just got to be frank on Friday with these trash education that we've been giving our kids and the money that's being stolen via the Department of Education. So Karoline actually took questions on the Department of Education plans and what that would look like in the future. Check it out.
I'm live down from Box.
Our nation's failing test scores for the last several decades. The Department of Education was founded in the 1970s, and since then we have spent more than $3 trillion at this federal bureaucracy. What has been the return on that investment for the American taxpayer? Levels that are less than ideal, less than proficient. Our children's test scores are incredibly concerning when it comes to reading rates, literacy rates, math, and science test scores. The numbers prove that, and this president is finally taking much needed action to return education to where it belongs, and that's to educators closest to students in their classrooms in their respective states. We're going to have a great event here later at 4 o'clock. There will be students here, teachers here, parents here, educators, and of course governors from around the country who are very excited about taking on this responsibility to educate our nation's students.
Who's going to run federal student loans?
So the Department of Education will be much smaller than it is today. As you know, the president's executive order directed Linda McMahon to greatly minimize the agency. So when it comes to student loans and Pell Grants, those will still be run out of the Department of Education, but we don't need to be spending more than $3 trillion over the course of a few decades on a department that's clearly failing in its initial intention to educate our students.
So is the federal government
going to be
spending less?
much smaller than it is. Is it not going to be shut down completely? And then I have a second question.
As I said, Pell Grants and student loans will still be run out of the department in Washington, D.C., but the great responsibility of educating our nation's students will return to the states.
And the Department of Education.
So essentially what he said, which we talked about yesterday, was that the states will be given more power to basically govern over the resources that's distributed from the federal government and less oversight so that you guys, the voters, can determine and have more power about what goes on in your individual state based off of your individual results. I'm not really sure why this is an issue. I don't know why people are complaining about it, but it sounds like a really, really good thing to me. It sounds like a phenomenal thing. And this is on a grade school level. Elementary school, middle school, high school, you're basically going to have more power within your states to hold your governor and your legislators in your states accountable so that you guys can determine where these funds go and if the people that are in charge are doing what they're supposed to do, and it's no longer going to fall on the shoulders of the federal government. We're removing the bureaucracy. What's the problem with that? Now, let me tell you what I would like to see over a period of time. I believe that we need to prioritize the curriculums that are the most meaningful in the United States of America when it comes to Pell Grants and student loans. I think it should be based off of your grades, what you qualify for. It should also be based off of what curriculum you are choosing and what path you are going forward in as far as what you're studying to get your degree in. I don't think that it should just be blanket, and I know that this is more comprehensive language that probably could and should be emphasized and dealt with in the future. Right now, we just got to deal with funding. We got to deal with all of the bureaucratic nonsense. We got to find where the fraud, waste, and abuse is, and then we need to go and deep dive into it. But if you're going to tell me that we need to continue to fund student loans at the same rate when it comes to you getting a basket weaving degree, liberal arts, dance, arts, culture, African-American studies, all of this nonsense, I think that some of these programs, you should not be able to get funded from student loans and Pell Grants. I do not believe that you should. If you want to go in there and you want to do that, then you should be able to pay for it yourself. We should make sure that we spend more of our federal dollars on things that we know people can and will pay back. If you get a degree in a STEM field, you are much more likely to be able to pay back your student loans and contribute into the society and be able to fill the jobs of the future. If not, I think that you should have to pay for it on your own if that's what you want to do. What that will do is keep people from running in the Victim Olympics, make sure that they're not sitting here complaining about student loans and voting based off of taking out a whole bunch of student loans for things that they shouldn't be doing. And we will be building a workforce that's similar to the workforce across the globe where people are incentivized to go into specific fields of study where you can make a lot of money, and you will make sure that you are doing the thing that's the best for society. I don't think that we should be funding student loans for everything and everybody. People act like they're stupid. They act like they don't know that student loans, you're going to have to pay them back. They get mad at the federal government because now they're requiring for you to pay your student loan back at the rates that you signed up for them. And they say, oh my God, we got to do something about it. I've seen some people that say that they ain't never paying their student loans. I've seen some people that said that they're going to be lifetime students so that they never have to get a student loan bill. How stupid and irresponsible. How stupid and irresponsible. But let's continue to hear what she has to say.
Education plays a critical role in enforcing civil rights laws that prohibit discrimination. Who's going to do that now?
Any critical functions of the department, such as that, will remain. But again, we're greatly reducing the scale and the size of this department.
What about federal Title I funding and special education funding? Is that still good?
Same answer. Yes.
Thanks, Caroline. On the Federal Reserve, the president criticized the rate decision yesterday. Is he looking to replace members of the Federal Reserve Board like he did on the Federal Trade Commission?
Well, the president has appointed Mickey Bowman, as you know, to be the vice chair of the Federal Reserve. We're incredibly optimistic about her. She's on the ball, as the president says, and knows how to get things done. The president has every right to criticize the decision, and he's made it very clear that he believes in lower interest rates are going to help this country boom. And this administration is working on lowering the rate of inflation caused by the previous administration every day. Inflation is cooling. The numbers indicate that. And the president strongly believes in low interest rates. And I think the American public do too.
Caroline, on the deportation flights, Caroline, you've said that you're confident that you've complied with the judge's order.
We are.
Case, then why not turn over the information about the flights?
We are 100% confident that we've complied. And as I said from the podium and will continue to say, all of the flights that were subject to the written order of the judge took off before the written order was pushed in the courtroom. And the president is well within his article or his Article 2 power and his authority under the Alien Enemies Act to make these decisions. And we think it's egregious that a single district judge is trying to tell the president of the United States who he can and cannot deport from our soil, especially when it comes to designated foreign terrorists.
Adan, why would you say inflation is about to get hyper when we're actually lowering the cost of living? And I don't see anybody complaining about the price of eggs, which they said was an indicator of exactly what our buying power is as individual consumers. Inflation cannot go hyper unless you print way more money. We're actually going to be printing less money. We're going to be saving more dollars in the federal government, which lowers your cost of living because taxpayers didn't get a break. And we spend more money lowering the federal deficit over a period of 4 years. How can inflation get hyper when we spending less money, going to have more businesses investing inside of the United States of America and committing capital, while at the same time printing less money? Do y'all understand how money works? You don't understand how money works? Interesting. Shout out to Karoline. Is it Leavitt? Shout out to Karoline. I remember Sarah Huckabee Sanders used to be Trump's press secretary, and then she wound up becoming, I believe, governor. So it's interesting. Yo, we gotta be careful. We gotta be careful. We just be saying stuff. I hate having to repeat myself a lot of times. I hate having to re-educate people, but I am mindful that there are people that may be watching the program and this is their first time here. I know Adan is not their first time here. Sometimes people just say stuff in order to get my attention. But, you know, we're going to make sure that we continue to keep the people in the back of the room educated. Sometimes you got to call on them to read, bring them to the front of the congregation so that they'll start to get better, and then they'll be shamed into doing better instead of just saying random stuff. inside of the chat. Make sure you hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications.